Hi everyone, I'm Min Reagan Kelly. I work on the IPython and Jupyter projects. And what we do at IPython and Jupyter is we work on this interactive, this interactive programming environment that we call notebooks. And this is interactive documents that are used for teaching, publishing, and doing science, data science. You can follow along with this notebook at this bit.ly link, which is on the web. A notebook document has Markdown for prose, it has LaTeX for math, and it has interactive code blocks with rich media output. You can share them on NBViewer, which is a service we run to render notebooks. People have written books in notebooks. And you can, let me get back to my notebook. And you can do a live, Rackspace hosts a service called TempNB for temporary ephemeral notebooks, so you can try it out, which is loading very slowly. And I can run code in the notebook, and I get output. So there I just made a plot, and I can share this notebook on NBViewer. And where we need help from you guys is we have, and the notebooks work in approximately 40 languages for doing this interactive code and sharing documentation. We need lots and lots of docs for our own project, for IPython and Jupyter, and where this is really challenging is we have lots of different kinds of users. We have instructors teaching classes. We have students where the notebook is the first programming environment they've ever seen. We have hardcore data scientists doing big analysis, journalists at the New York Times and 538, sysadmins doing large deployments for multiple users, and writing documentation for all those different people is really, really hard. And then we also, because it is a tool for writing documentation, we want to improve our own tools for other people to use notebooks to document their own projects. And for that, we need your help. And the great thing is we actually have funding to get your help. So if you would like to work on writing documentation in notebooks or documenting IPython and Jupyter for a wide variety of users, come talk to me or hit one of us up on GitHub or Twitter or what have you. Yeah.
2:15, that's my kind of lightning talk. Next up we have Christoph, then Tom.
Thank you. Tuning. There we go. Hi, I'm Christoph van Tomme, and I'm a Drupal guy with an unhealthy obsession for data. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk to you about a better format for for documenting the web. Because today there's 3 general ways that people document web tools. There's screenshot tutorials, and they're kind of interesting, but it's kind of hard sometimes to know what the context is of what you're seeing, and they're a pain to update. There's video tutorials. They're an even bigger pain to update. Like anytime anything changes, like your pictures change or anything like that, you can basically throw away your videos and start all over again. And they're horrible because they're this single narrative thing, so that if people need like the thing that you're explaining in minute 10, they have to watch the whole movie, and they don't really like doing that. And then there's the text stuff. And I'm sorry, Salesforce, I didn't want to bash you, but I was really frustrated when I was trying to integrate Google Apps with Salesforce, and this is a screenshot that I took then. So basically there's 2 really big problems. There's the 2-window issue, where you have like the documentation and the thing that you're trying to do, and you're like switching back and forward, and it's kind of like figuring out where you are, and it's kind of messy, and it creates a lot of cognitive load. And the other thing is that it's really expensive to update, because of which a lot of documentation never gets updated. You get out-of-date visuals, people start to doubt, and they're not sure if it's still okay. Now, there are tools, there's a paradigm for this out there. It's GPS. A lot of people here in the room have that in their car. And it allows you to kind of take away the cognitive load of this really complex process and just step by step go through something. And there's something for that already on the web. It's a guided tour or walkthrough tutorials. I'm sure almost everybody has seen them by now. But they solve this problem in this way. So what we've done is we've built an open source tool for this. It's called WalkHub. There's a few open source tools out there, but our tool is different because it's using Selenium, which is a testing framework, as the basic language for the walkthrough tutorials. And this is really crazy because it means that you can just record the tutorial and then replay it, and you can automatically take screenshots, you can verify if your walkthroughs are still okay, you can just put it into your automated testing system. And this is our recorder, and this is our in-place editor. It's all open source, so you can just grab it from GitHub. And I'm going to be doing a BOF session at 3:30 about this. You can also just go to walkhub.net. If you sign up, my colleague will give you a demo and explain how it works. You can focus on GitHub, and you can find me at kvantomme. That's my Twitter handle. Now, Salesforce. To your, the funny thing is that I did a similar talk at the DITA North America conference a few weeks ago. And the really interesting thing was that right before my session, Salesforce gave a talk about how they did a very similar thing with their own documentation. And now they've been, in a really big way, been doing this kind of walkthrough documentation for onboarding, for helping new users get accustomed to the platform and figuring out how it all works. It's really, really, really cool. But their tool is not open source. So if you want to figure out how to do that for your own organization, come to the talk. It's at 3:30. Thank you.
Just under 4 minutes. Excellent. Up next we have Mark Giffen, who does not require slides.
I have no slides, so I'll be waving my arm. My name is Mark Giffen, and I do a lot of work with DITA and TechPub's teams and that kind of thing. I wanted to talk about lightweight DITA today. How many people actually have some idea what DITA is? Okay, good. Most of you. Well, it's a modular system for doing documentation, and it has advantages and it has disadvantages. One of the main disadvantages is complexity. It's an XML based thing, and some people run screaming from XML editors, even technical people. And lightweight DITA is it's an initiative to make really simple, map DITA to things like Markdown and restructured text and HTML5 and other things, even things like Word or something. The idea is to make it easy for subject matter experts to get information to you that'll fit right into the DITA workflow. I'm on the OASIS DITA committee, on the lightweight DITA subcommittee, and this is what we've started working on. One advantage of the lightweight DITA is that it makes it easier to contribute, and it makes it easier also to create tools that you could use. There's a lot involved in making a full DITA compliant, editor right now. But with something like lightweight DITA, it would be fairly trivial. So you could use a web editor in your, WordPress site, or there's a lot of other possibilities. Anyway, I just thought I would bring the subject up and let you know something about it, that it does exist, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mark. Up next we have Ian Dees. Come on up.
That's a good sign. All right, hi everybody. How about this conference, yeah? So my name's Ian, and I'm here to talk about an aspect of technical writing. I don't think we've covered it a lot here today. It doesn't get a lot of love, probably for good reason, but I'm talking about the humble software requirements specification. So I work at Tektronix. We're a hardware company. We can have a fascinating debate about how much we should define up front in terms of requirements, but the hardware people will tell us what they need us to do to get data out of their hardware 2 years from now, and if we don't do that, we don't have a product. So we're kind of stuck with requirements at some level up front. But no one seems to agree what they are, or what they should be, what form they should take. Even the physical medium, like should they be a stack of paper in a filing cabinet that only auditors will ever read? Should they be a bunch of Word documents, the sort of modern day digital equivalent? I mean, even like Joel on Software, big proponent of really lightweight documents, still wants to see a 1 or 2 pager in Word describing what you're going to build. A lot of devs would probably like to see you use your bug tracking system. Just put all the requirements in that. Or maybe some kind of database. Just throw everything in SQL. That way we can slice and dice by what the target release date is, or who's going to implement it, or is it tested or not. We've also tried the approach of handing a bunch of money to a vendor that supplies a complicated requirements management tool. Anyone ever fallen down that rabbit hole? Or how about this one? Maybe your functional tests, maybe those are your requirements, especially if you write in something like Cucumber. Hopefully people aren't saying that your unit tests aren't the requirements, at least not all of them. Maybe down at the super low code level, maybe at the library testing level. I know I've heard people say, we don't need requirements, the code is the spec. Have you heard devs say this? It documents itself. So whenever we hear the word documentation, we all have a different picture in our head, just like the story about the elephant. Depending on where you're standing on the elephant, it either seems like a big wall of sandpaper or a big flappy ear or what have you. And I think we all see something different because we all have a different goal. We have something different that we want out of the requirements. Me as a developer, I'm selfish. I want to know, what am I building? I want just enough information to know what I'm supposed to do next and nothing more, because that other stuff will get in the way. But my testing friends and my writing friends, they want the spec to talk about what the product is supposed to do, because they're going to test it or they're going to explain it to someone. The managers want it to have enough information in it for the hardware and software teams to talk to each other. Marketing wants to know, am I going to have a product? Or are we just all like out of a job in 2 years? Believe it or not, we do actually have auditors whose job it is to come in and read your spec and then go read your evidence that you've tested your product and find some sort of proof that you've tied those specs to the test cases, traceability. Which to me just feels like TPS reports, but I suppose it's got to be done. So if you notice, as I started talking about why we want requirements, I start talking about who wants them. And that was the big sort of epiphany I had on the eve of this conference, is that the reason that everybody has a different picture of what the requirements are supposed to be is that we're all different people with different needs. And so the coder and the tester, the documentarian and management and auditors and marketing, all these folks have different needs from the documentation. So the big epiphany was maybe there is no just the software requirements. This may be old hat, old news to you, but every place I've ever worked, people still talk about the software requirements like they're one thing, like they're one Word file or one database, and maybe they're not. Maybe if I'm writing a library, I need some of that documentation encoded in low-level tests, because the customer doesn't care if I use Sinex over X interpolation, they just care that it looks good. Maybe we need a theory of operation for people who are new to the project, for people who have just come on board from different parts of the company or from outside the company, for testers, for writers. Maybe we need information that they can present then to our customers and say, this is the theory behind this. Maybe we need a product backlog out of our bug tracking tool, and this will tell marketing at least we've thought about what to do in the future. A lot of open questions. I don't know how to link these things together. I have no idea how to do traceability if I've got this hodgepodge of unit tests and wiki pages and Jira tickets. I have no idea what tools and formats to keep this all in, but if there's interest, I'd love to put together an unconference session. Are there people who have thought about this, or maybe this is a solved problem? Is there anybody who would go to an unconference session on requirements, even just to vent and tell award stories? Cool. I'll set one up. Thank you all.
Cool. Thanks, Ben. Next, we have Elisa Sawyer. Come on up.
Okay. So I'm starstruck. I'm standing up here with all these amazing people looking at me. I'm just really happy to be here with having all these discussions. It's my first time here. I began presenting on using story in technical documentation in 2003 based on my experience starting off as a tech writer, jumping into SDK documentation at IBM after 2 writers failed to get information from a really gnarly developer who'd been working on a system integration for about 10 or 12 years, and I needed to document it within 3 months for people in Mainz, Germany, and Dublin, Ireland to be able to learn the system from my documentation. Okay, so I jumped in, and I really loved this software developer. He reminded me of my dad, who probably is autism spectrum, really brilliant. I probably have some autism traits, but I'm not autistic. I have ultra-sensitive ears, and I need to use earplugs here to be comfortable, okay? But I don't think I'm really autistic. I just have some traits, so I understand some software developers who have problems communicating. I'd learned growing up grandmother's books. Grandmother was in the inner circle around Carl Jung. So Joseph Campbell was stuff I read in grade school, okay? That means I just sort of lived and breathed story for a lot of my life. I love writing. Writing came to me by some mysterious process, and I realized I was good at it, even though I was focusing on funding environmental groups for a long time before I came into high tech. Okay, I wanted to continue developing as a writer in addition to understanding technical things better as I was learning to be a better technical writer. So I took I signed up for courses in screenwriting, and I realized that screenwriting is technical writing. I can just go on and on without my slides. But my slides have some good stuff on them. I could post them somewhere for people. But screenwriting is technical writing. If you write a screenplay, you've got 120 pages or so to give people a whole world, all right? And that world will be presented to them in 1.5 to 2 hours for a feature film. In some venues, you know, you've got half an hour or 20 minutes on television, and you pack information into that, okay? You pack a lot of information into that so people feel like they understand a whole different world that they've never been exposed to before. Well, how do they do that? We have a lot to learn from Hollywood, right? There's a story arc that Joseph Campbell identified that Hollywood rediscovered after people over the ages have used the art of story to teach people things, okay? This has been going on for thousands of years. Hollywood, with all the money that they have, they need to make certain that they're at least making an investment that they can justify even if the film flops, right? Same kind of money as what we have in startups, $10 million to $100 million plus dollars going into a risky venture, right? There's a lot of similarity between Silicon Valley and that valley down there in Southern California. Okay, I don't know where if I'm coming, but we have a lot to learn about the art of story. I learned a whole lot of technical details about how scenes are mini stories. There's a larger story arc for a feature film. You've got even a larger story arc if you're doing a television series. And we can take that and use that as metaphor for what we're doing in giving even highly technical people the information they need in a way that they can understand it. All right, there are lots of tools. I probably got my 5 minutes. I'm excited. I want to give an unconference session. I hope people are interested and would like to learn more.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Swizats, and I'm gonna convince you to turn your docs into books. First of all, hands up, who makes a living writing docs? Come on. Nice, almost all of you. That gives me imposter syndrome, yes. Because I don't make a living writing docs. But how many of you have gotten an email from a reader saying, wow, thank you so much for writing that. I love that you wrote that. It helped me so much. Not as many of you. How many of you even have emails of your readers? A few of you, awesome. So here's the thing. People don't read docs, as we found before lunch. But if you take your docs and turn them into a PDF, people will pay you money to read your docs. Like, strangers on the internet will take out their credit card and send you $30 for your documentation. Seriously. If you add a video, it's going to be like $60 or $70. I forgot my point. Anyway, here's the thing. You already write a lot. You write probably a few thousand words per week. And they're good words. They're very awesome. People read them, but you have no idea who reads them. They come in the middle of your story. They do strange things. They don't care about what they read. And if your docs are anything like my blog, you get like a 45-second average of time on site. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't read a 1,000-word blog post in 45 seconds. And I'm assuming most people can't either. So the thing is, if it's online, people don't value it. They're like, meh, I don't care. I'm just here for something quick. And if your first line doesn't say, I am answering your question, they will just go somewhere else. But if they give you even $1 for something, and it's got 60 pages, they will sit down, read it from start to finish, and actually learn something from what you wrote. And I think that's what we're all trying to accomplish. We're actually trying to teach people. And if they don't read what we wrote, they're not going to learn anything, and they're not going to be happy with the product we're making, or whatever. I don't think I had any other points. My point is just, if you release your docs as a book, just do that. People will read it. They will read from start to finish, and they will give you your email. So 10 days from now, you can email them and say, hey, did I actually help you? And if anyone's interested in doing a non-conference on this, just ping me and we'll organize something. Thank you.
All right. Short, sweet, profit-oriented. Love it. Elijah, come on up. This will be our last lightning talk for today.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah? So, before I start, can you guys hear me well? Is that... Yeah, good. Who here has ever written an email? That should be all of you, good. If you didn't raise your hand, you're lying or you're not paying attention, so I just called you out. Who here has read an email? Should be about the same. Awesome. Who here has enjoyed every email they've ever read? You're lying. Okay. So once we get the slides started, all this preamble makes sense. My name's Elijah, by the way. Might as well get that out of the way. I'm a student at Oregon State University. I'm also a developer at the Open Source Lab. And I also run a Linux users group. So part of my job is sending out emails every week. So I'm not a professional email writer, but I do write them a lot. And I have a golden piece of advice at the end of this, so stick around. Yeah, so the title is Writing an Email, How to Craft the Best Email You've Never Written Until Now. So the goal of this is basically to make emails suck less by teaching you how to write emails that suck less. Not that you write bad emails. Everyone here is awesome. This is for your friends. So I have some pillars of what makes a good email. And I should clarify, I did this talk a while ago, and it was brought up to me that this is not a talk about email as a whole, but more about the body of an email. I don't really talk about the title or who to send it to, but this talks about the body of an email. So these are 3 pillars of what I think makes a good email body. Good organization, ease of information, and it grabs the attention of the reader. So if you get all of those in your body, you have made a great email, I think. So let's start with some do nots. Do not have like a wall of text. I think that we've already talked about this plenty. Who enjoys reading an email that's like that? Good, no one. So another thing to consider, though, that I think people don't think about is don't make your email too short. I don't know about you guys, but I basically have like 10 emails per day that I can like really process and really get something out of. And if you send me an email that's one line, I almost feel like you've wasted one of my email points. And that's just me. And I think a lot of people agree. And most of us have other ways of communicating with individuals. I personally have internet relay chat or like physical bulletin boards. Try putting it there, or maybe even just talk to someone face to face. Because if your line is that short, either you're not actually saying what you need, or you can say it somewhere else that isn't wasting people's email points. So it's simple. Just know your audience. This is true for everything, even documentation, but specifically email for what I'm talking about. And one way to think about your email when you're writing it is, would I want to read the email that I'm writing right now? If it's a block of text, you should be saying no, or you're just lying to yourself. So let's move into what's good, like what you should do. This is a pretty good example of an email. It doesn't quite fill any of my pillars, but it's short, it's concise, that's the most important, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. I feel like there's something here that's worth reading, but it could be improved, definitely. So this is even better. It's got a solid structure to it. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's sort of like a 3-part essay. I know that if I read the beginning, I can get what the rest of the email is about, and if I don't need to read the email, I can just sort of discard it from there. So, of course, you as the writer need to keep in mind that first sentence should be explanatory, but it's got structure, which means that I, as the reader, am able to comprehend it without reading the whole thing, which is just an arduous task. Another thing to consider, we all know this, bullet points are awesome, right? Who doesn't love bullet points? Cool. So bullet points are great. They basically make the information boil down into exactly what you need. I could, in theory, just read the bullet points of this email and get everything I need out of it, or know, that I should keep reading the email. We all know this. We've all written documentation. We all know how valuable bullet points are. Take advantage of those in your email. And the last thing is to use animated images that aren't loading. No, oh yeah, it is loading, right? Oh, it's too dark. Okay, anyway, that's an animated image of a guy going, yeah. So every week I send out an email to my Linux users group in Corvallis, Oregon, and I include an animated image. And this is good because it fulfills most of the pillars just with that one piece. It makes the email attractive. They want to read it. They want to know what that animated image is about. And it also carries through. So I have an introduction, I have an image that's relevant, and then I have the body. So basically, they read the introduction, they're enticed by the image, and then they keep reading. So I get them to actually do what I want them to do, which is to read what I'm writing for them. So that's it, short and sweet, I guess. You can find these slides on my website, slides.elijahkane.me, and yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks.